All right, folks. So I've been thinking a lot of what has transpired in the past week. Yeah, I want to talk about Arena, obviously. And what happened to her was an absolute terrible tragedy. Nobody in this world should have to go through something as horrific as that. And now I kept just going down this rabbit hole. And then I just kept on thinking, what are we doing as a society, especially in the Western civilization, to these very young, very attractive, very beautiful white women? Some of you guys might get triggered, especially if you're not white. So Arena, I mean, she's very attractive, right? Just 23 years old, and I talk about white worshipping from the Asian culture a lot in the past videos, and I talk about the snow bunny crisis, these rich black men chasing after white women. You might not like my points, you might disagree with me, but most of it is true. And yeah, if you were to ask any Chinese man, I would say not just Chinese man, also Chinese woman. So which two countries has the most beautiful woman in the world? Well, the answer you would get, I would say 98% of the time, it's either Russia or Ukraine. They can be flipped. So typically that's the standard of certainly a female beauty in China. So the most beautiful woman in the world, they come from Russia or Ukraine. And understand, obviously, so what they're saying is that this is on average. Obviously, there are big, fat, ugly Russian, Ukrainian women as well. But Irina, I mean, she's obviously not a big, fat white girl. She's quite young, quite slim, quite attractive. And so for all of this to have happened, let's actually just, just go down this train of thought. If she was actually a hoe, right? If she acted like one, if she was doing OnlyFans, or if she found herself a sugar daddy, and so she would probably still be alive today. And honestly, she would probably be a millionaire. I'm sure you guys have seen, Sophie Ring, right? Probably the most popular woman on OnlyFans right now. So she's saying that actually across the last 12 months, she's made $83 million on OnlyFans. Something like that. It could be like 82 million or 78 million. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that number. So she's making almost as much money as LeBron James. I guess she's lucky as that LeBron's not on OnlyFans. Imagine, LeBron James or Dwayne Wade or Dwight Howard or DeMarcus Cousins on OnlyFans. Well, I mean, they could be making more money than Sophia Rain. Then I just go back to look at this video. So it's late at night. She's working at this pizzeria. She's still wearing the uniform. And it's revealed later that she's texting her boyfriend. And I looked up the minimum wage in North Carolina. I mean, working at some shitty pizzeria, she can't be making anything more than minimum wage. So it's a terrible part of America. The minimum wage is only $7.25. So I think that's when the economy is terrible over there. So I think the minimum wage in New York City is about $15 an hour. But once again, obviously, if you live in New York City, things are going to cost a lot more. So let's say so she works, let's say 8-hour shifts 5 days a week. And let's see if you do the math, right? So $7.25 an hour, multiply that by 40, multiply that by 4. Her net income after tax is probably going to be less than 1,000 US dollars per month. That's all she was making. I just don't know what to say because I've been to Thailand twice, I mentioned before. My second trip was in 2023. First time I did not see any Russia or Ukrainian, what do you want to call them, hookers, prostitutes, horologists. And obviously, first time was in 2012. I did not see any of them. And in 2022, we all know happened, the war between Russia and Ukraine broke out, and millions of Russians and Ukrainians fled those two countries. And so many of these Ukrainian women, they're going to places like Thailand in order to find sex work. And another very popular hotspot for these Ukrainian female refugees is that they're going to countries like Poland, they're going to countries like Romania, or they're going to Dubai. And obviously, you know why these young, beautiful Ukrainian women are going to Dubai. They're finding sugar daddies there. They're becoming some, 72-year-old millionaire's seventh girlfriend. I understand, oftentimes we, as a society, we often criticize women. We say that, high body count, hookup culture, one-night stand, summer fling, situationship, doing OnlyFans. But it's a sad world that we lived in, but because Irina, she's very attractive. If she actually chose the option to go to, let's say, Warsaw, Poland, to find, obviously, I understand, if she wants her boyfriend that's in her age group, let's say between 20 to 27 or even 30 or 32, 99% of the guys in that age group, they have no money. They're completely broke. That's why they call it sugar daddy, right? She probably has to find some really old guy, at least 60, possibly 65, 70, or 75, and she will simply join his harem to become his sixth or seventh or eighth girlfriend. Yeah, if she was actually willing to do that, if she was actually willing to throw away all of her moral values, if she was willing to literally get down on her knees, let's just call it what it is, right? And yeah, honestly, she will probably be making $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 a year. I mean, she could be living a great life. She could be taking herself shopping every single weekend. She could be out there getting pampered, getting massaged. She could have had all of that. But instead of doing all of those things, she turned herself away from all of those demons. Irina, she has a self-respect, she has dignity, she has great moral values, she has amazing contents of character. She knows what is the right things to do. I mean, she definitely probably at some point thought about finding a sugar daddy in Dubai or in Warsaw, Poland, or in Bucharest, Romania. But she chose to stay away from all of those things in her life. She made the conscious choice to move to a completely broke part of America. She chose to apply to work at a pizzeria, making $7.25 an hour. Because at the end of the day, when Irina goes to bed, when she wakes up every single morning, she will know that sure, she might not be living an amazing life. She might not be making six figures. Maybe she doesn't have a nice house. Maybe she doesn't have a beautiful Mercedes. But at the end of the day, she can tell herself that, you know what? I am a good person. And I think at some point, we'll eventually all reach that cross point in our lives where we all have to make that difficult decision between doing what is right versus doing what is easy. So, I mean, finding a sugar daddy for someone like Irina with that face card would have been super easy. She would have tons of guys that's lining up to, let's say, pay her $100,000 a year. But instead of doing all of those things, Irina, she chose to live the life of an honest person. And that is the end result. That is the state of the world that we live in. Look at every single Western country. This kind of good decision making by making the right choices to put yourself on the right path to succeed in this world. Unfortunately, this is not being rewarded. Instead, so many young people are getting punished. And I talk about, the severe consequences of immigration. So a lot of you guys are not going to like this point. Well, there is a clear agenda of systematic racism against white people. And yeah, just look at what's happening in all of these Western countries, especially to these young white women. So, I mean, what choices do you have? So imagine you, right? Let's say if Irina, if she wasn't from Ukraine, if she was born, raised in the United Kingdom, in France, and in Canada, in Australia, New Zealand, or the United States, right? A nice, beautiful, innocent little white girl. And so look at her options, right? So just especially in Canada, okay, if you try to apply to work at any fast food joint, look at Tim Hortons, look at McDonald's, look at Harvey's, Arby's, Dairy Queen, A&W, KFC. Yeah, just look at every single fast food chain in Canada. Look at the demographic of the workers there. I would say it's probably at least 80% Indian. And out of the 80% Indian demographic, I would say probably 70 to 80% of the Indians are men. I'm just telling you guys the reality. So the McDonald's I used to work at back in high school, so that was from 2007 to 2008. So I'll be 100% honest. When I worked there, so it was over 90% white people. I'm just trying to remember how many non-white people actually worked there. At the time when I worked there, I would say the store has roughly 50 people. There was me. There was one Indian guy, roughly same age as me. There was one super old Indian lady. She was at the back washing dishes. She never moved to the front because she couldn't speak English. And there was another Vietnamese guy. That's it. 2 Indians, 1 Chinese, 1 Vietnamese. So out of 50 people, 4 out of 50, that's 92% white. Now when I go back to visit at McDonald's, the demographic of the employees is 90% Indian. Yes, so it went from when I was in high school, once again, 92% white to 90% Indian. Imagine, yeah, if you're a fairly attractive, a beautiful young white woman, and if you're trying to go out there, try to apply for a job to work as a barista or cashier or flip burgers or taking orders at the drive-thru. I mean, would you actually work at any of these jobs if this is what you saw when you pulled up to these stores when you're filling out your job application? You see these young military-aged Indian, Pakistani, Bangladeshi man, or a Muslim Arab man, or a bunch of black men from Haiti, from Jamaica, from sub-Saharan Africa, and all of them are licking their chops while looking at you filling out that job application. I mean, would you apply to work at any of these places? I'm being 100% honest. I know that point can be controversial, but if I was put into that situation, well, I would say honestly, I would say no. But once again, right, if you as a someone who doesn't have an education, who doesn't have a skill, if you're a 18, 19, 20-year-old, if you're unwilling to work at these places, what are your other options? Well, I mean, yeah, it's very, very hard to survive in any Western country in 2025. The only other two options I'm really left with is that if I don't want to work at these fast food joints for minimum wage with a bunch of Indian or Arab or black men, well, it's that I have to find a super old white guy, probably some 75-year-old millionaire, and join his harem of women, where I'll be riding his soft dick 2 or 3 times a week. Or I will have to try to become the next Sophie Rain or Lily Phillips and start my OnlyFans. Yeah. This is how much the Western society has deteriorated over the past 20, 30, 40 years. And this is one of the dark sides of immigration. This is one of the severe consequences that very few people has ever covered. Just to make something clear, I'm not trying to put white people on the pedestal. Making this video is because, well, what happened to Irina and the fact that she was working at a pizzeria for $725 an hour. And never mind if you're a white woman. So, let's say if you could also be a beautiful Asian woman, 18, 19, or 20-year-old, right? So you're 9 out of 10, or just drop dead gorgeous, 10 out of 10, or a beautiful Indian woman, or a beautiful Arab woman, or a Latino, or a black woman. I mean, would you work at these places? Let's say, what if you're in the middle of the hood? You're a gorgeous 10 out of 10 black woman. Would you work at a black-owned restaurant in the middle of Detroit? What about Memphis, Tennessee? What about St. Louis, Missouri? What about Milwaukee, Wisconsin? What about the south side of Chicago? If you, as a young, gorgeous black woman, would you work at any of these black-owned restaurants? Probably not. I'm just being 100% honest. And I understand in my previous videos, I've offended a lot of women. I've been talking about a lot of these issues with young women, where they made the hookup so normal, where situationship, friends with benefits, no strings attached. They're just giving away their cookies for free, and it's absolutely terrible for women. But yeah, we have to look at a woman's struggle as well from the man's perspective. A lot of these young women, they're often left with no choice. I mean, yeah, if it was presented to me to apply to work at Tim Hortons for a minimum wage, where 80 to 90% of the store's demographics are young military-aged Indian men, versus, finding some super old white guy as a sugar daddy or doing OnlyFans. I mean, obviously, the moral conscious choice is that, apply and just grind it out and work at the Tim Hortons. But I think 98% of the population will be tempted to find a rich old sugar daddy or starting their own OnlyFans, where they can be making 10 times, 50 times, 100 times more money by selling their soul to the devil. So yeah, it's an insane world that we live in. And I'm so sorry to what happened to you, Irina. And if you guys are wondering, is there a solution to reverse all of this? Is there actually a way to move forward? Well, I've covered this so much in past videos, so I don't want to make this video extremely long, but I will definitely come back to this topic and further discuss the solution for the Western society and how we can move forward. So thank you guys so much for clicking on this video and watching all the way until the end. I will see you guys next time.